At 2:00 in the morning, Houston police officers entered a two-story home on Palmetto Street. The night was silent, the streets empty, but inside this house, something was terribly wrong. In the front yard, under the dim glow of a street lamp, stood two teenagers, a young man and a young woman. Neither said a word. The girl's face was swollen with tears, her eyes red and wet. The boy, however, remained disturbingly calm, his gaze fixed on nothing in particular. One officer asked for the alarm to be turned off. Without hesitation, the boy raised his head and tapped a code into the keypad. The system went silent. Inside the home, everything looked normal. The kitchen was neat, the living room spotless, not a single chair out of place. It was as if nothing had happened. But upstairs, something was waiting. Each step up the staircase grew heavier. At the top, a door stood slightly ajar. From within came a sound, shallow, raspy breathing. Not voices, not footsteps, just the faint gasp of someone fighting for life. The officers pushed the door open. The room was dark. Their flashlights swept across the bed and froze. Two figures lay motionless, their heads covered with pillows. When an officer lifted the pillow from the woman, he immediately stepped back. She was gone. Two bullet wounds to the head, blood soaked into the pillowcase and darkened the sheets beneath her. Beside her, a man still clung to life. A bullet had struck his head, but he was barely conscious, unable to move or speak. Medics would later describe his condition as critical. The room was eerily untouched. No overturned furniture, no shattered glass. Only a small bullet hole in the ceiling and a faint dark stain spreading across the wall. Downstairs, the silence was complete. Outside, the two teenagers still stood waiting. One of them, the son of the victims, had already given his version of events. But soon, detectives would discover that not everything he said lined up with what they found inside. And that was when the suspicions began. Antonio Armstrong's story began long before that night. Born in Houston, he grew up in a deeply religious family. His mother, Kay Winston, gave birth to him at just 15 years old. Despite hardships, she instilled in him the values of discipline and faith. Antonio became a star athlete, first at the University of Texas, then briefly in the NFL with the Miami Dolphins, before injuries cut short his career. He later played in Canada, then returned home to Houston, where he found a new calling as an assistant pastor. It was at church that he met Dawn, a woman known for her devotion and strength of character. They married in 1998, and together, they built a life rooted in faith, family, and ambition. The couple opened a successful chain of gyms called First Class Training, while Antonio created motivational content online. They were admired in their community. To everyone around them, the Armstrongs seemed like the perfect family. Dawn had a son from a previous relationship, Joshua, or Josh, whom Antonio legally adopted. Together, they went on to have two more children, Antonio Jr., known as AJ, and their youngest, Kira. By 2016, Dawn and Antonio lived with AJ and Kira in their Houston home. Josh, now 20, lived just 2 minutes away. On the surface, life was orderly, successful, and safe. But behind closed doors, tensions simmered. Dawn ran the household with strict control. Schoolwork, bedtimes, curfews, everything was carefully managed. Phones were checked, messages read, and rules enforced. Antonio, too, believed in structure, pushing AJ to succeed in both school and sports. At first, AJ was a polite, disciplined child, but as he entered his teenage years, cracks began to show. He became tardy, secretive, and defiant. He secretly bought a second phone to contact a girlfriend his parents didn't approve of. He began experimenting with marijuana. Arguments between him and Dawn escalated. Still, no one expected what was coming. Because on the night of July 29, 2016, Dawn and Antonio Armstrong were found shot in their own bed. And AJ, their 16-year-old son, would soon become the prime suspect. Investigators immediately began piecing together the scene. There was no forced entry. Every window locked, every door secured. The home's alarm system confirmed the house had been armed at 12:52 a.m. and disarmed at 1:40 a.m., the exact time 911 was called. That meant the only way in or out was with the code. Someone inside the home had to be responsible. The murder weapon, Antonio's own Siri, .22 caliber handgun, was found in a downstairs closet. Nearby lay a torn piece of paper with a chilling message in French. "I've been watching you for a long time. Follow me." But the note revealed no fingerprints, no DNA. Motion sensors inside the house recorded movement only near the master bedroom. AJ, however, told police he had run downstairs after the shots were fired. His story didn't match the data. Kira, just 12 at the time, said she heard the gunshots but stayed in her room, too afraid to move. She never saw anyone. AJ, on the other hand, claimed he saw a masked intruder leaving his parents' room. But police dogs found no scent of an outsider, no sign of forced entry. From the very beginning, AJ's version of events began to unravel. At the station, AJ sat for questioning with his grandmother by his side. He repeated the words, "I didn't do it," 19 times, even before detectives directly accused him. Officers noted his calm, detached demeanor. He never once asked about his parents' condition, nor did he express concern for his sister. To detectives, it was more than unusual. It was suspicious. But AJ wasn't the only Armstrong child facing struggles. His older brother Josh had long battled mental illness. He suffered from paranoia, hallucinations, and depression. Just 2 months before the murders, Josh had even tried to set fire to the family home. And yet, police never formally investigated him. No DNA, no fingerprints, no interrogation. The focus remained on AJ. Years passed, and AJ went to trial. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. The first trial ended in a hung jury. The second, the same. Both times, the defense argued there was no direct evidence linking AJ to the crime. The gun carried none of his fingerprints. The supposed intruder note was never analyzed. And Josh, who had the motive and history, was never seriously considered. But in 2023, just before AJ's 3rd trial, a shocking new discovery appeared. A tiny drop of Antonio Armstrong's blood on AJ's shirt. The catch? That shirt had been sealed in an evidence bag since 2016. No blood was reported on it at the time. The stain appeared only 7 years later, conveniently, just before prosecutors' final attempt. The defense called it planted evidence. The prosecution called it proof. This time, the jury delivered a verdict: guilty. AJ Armstrong was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. To this day, AJ maintains his innocence. From prison, he has given interviews, insisting he loved his parents and could never have harmed them. His wife, Kate, who married him during the trials, continues to fight for his release, raising their son alone. She believes the case was mishandled, that the investigation was biased, and that AJ was convicted not on evidence, but on suspicion. And when you look closely at the unanswered questions, the untested note, the ignored brother, the mysteriously appearing bloodstain, her doubts don't seem so far-fetched. Because if AJ didn't pull the trigger, then who did? Was it Josh, the troubled brother overlooked from day one? Was evidence tampered with to secure a conviction after years of failed trials? Or was the truth buried the moment investigators chose their suspect before the facts were clear? Today, AJ Armstrong sits behind bars, serving a life sentence. But one haunting question lingers. What if he isn't guilty? And if he isn't, the real killer was never caught. If you found this story gripping, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe AJ is guilty? Or could this be one of the most tragic miscarriages of justice in recent memory? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support helps keep these stories alive.